Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we take a look at the astrological energies from July 9th until July 16th. As we don't have very many transiting aspects unfolding this week, yet the ones we do have bring a seriousness to them. So we'll be discussing that in today's show, as you might be feeling a pressure, responsibility, and need to get important matters taken care of popping up as we move through this week in July. Before I dive into all that, just a warm welcome to those of you who are new to this podcast. I discuss the astrological energies through the lens of our spiritual and intuitive development, as well as the overall energetic potentials that are offered to us through the transiting astrology energies. I'm an intuitive astrologer, which means I go beyond just the typical cookbook definitions of astrology. I've been studying and practicing for over 30 years now, and I trust that whatever comes through is something that we're meant to understand and work with. And of course, I offer it to you with deep reverence for your own discernment and wisdom, hoping that it supports you right now, but of course, don't make it fit if it doesn't. So every Wednesday episode, we go through the transiting aspects of right now. And just a quick programming note to insert here is that I have pre-recorded this particular podcast because I am having a wonderful time with my son during his summer vacation. We have some fun planned this week, so I wanted to take care of this early. So if I'm not mentioning anything that has happened in the news or anything else that's relevant, it's because I had to pre-record this particular episode. So one of the main themes that is coming up now is that the Sun in Cancer begins to cover the territory of Mars retrograde in Cancer that we had earlier this year. During that time, Mars retrograded back to 17 degrees of Cancer, which is where the Sun is now. Mars spent 3.5 months in Cancer and was stirring up a lot more at deeper levels of our emotional world, our memories, our past, and perhaps even things that we hadn't felt or connected with for a very long time. Now, I had done a few podcast episodes for you going into the deeper energetics of this particular Mars retrograde in Cancer as we dug into more of the themes that were present. Now, the Sun in Cancer is moving over the same territory in your chart, and the Sun brings in new understandings, warmth, consciousness, and light that can help you understand what you were maybe processing earlier this year. And so more specifically, Mars was retrograde and then direct in Cancer from January 6th until April 18th. So this is a good way to work with the cycles of astrology, because now over the next 2 weeks, here comes that Sun giving you new understandings, awareness, and insights into whatever you were feeling and moving through. Also note that this occurred in a particular house or houses in your chart. And so the Sun brings in its powerful spotlight of energy to this area of your chart once a year. And there is a bit of a rebirth that occurs. So what it looks like here as we dig into this Sun in Cancer covering the Mars retrograde territory, it's a beautiful time to be compassionate to yourself, to be kind and accepting, to offer yourself grace for what you didn't know, for whatever was being triggered or elevated, and to allow yourself to hear, what do you truly need? What is the root need? Which is one of the baseline foundational energies of Cancer. What do you need? How has that need previously been fulfilled or neglected? How has that need been ignored or overly done, right? You can figure that out in terms of looking at past behaviors, situations, circumstances. But this is also important because towards the end of August, Jupiter is going to be here at 17 degrees of Cancer as well, and then traveling over the same territory. So there is emotional healing that's taking place in these Cancer degrees of your chart, and it's still probably a recent memory since it was just earlier this year, but I feel that it has many layers to it because of how deep the Cancer energy can run. And the sun in Cancer can hold onto the past, previous memories, imprints, situations, but now it's time to grow in a new direction. And that's one of the gifts of the Cancer season, which is cardinal water, flowing forward, allowing the past to be complete and over, giving yourself new movement, new ways of moving ahead that ultimately set you free. With Cancer, you can have a recognition of who you were then versus who you are now. You can see what has moved through you that was a beautiful teacher or brought up great personal insights. Maybe you recognize certain patterns or tendencies that you have, and they've been brought to your conscious awareness. And that's another thing that occurs with Cancer, is that because the energies can be deeply imprinted and unconscious, they aren't often challenged. But this is a week where you're going to see something in a whole new light. And part of this energy is that we're approaching the Capricorn full moon, where the moon will be at its peak place of illumination at 18 degrees, 50 minutes of Capricorn, directly opposing the sun at 18 degrees, 50 minutes of Cancer. There's a seriousness with the Capricorn full moon every year, and this year it feels more amplified simply because it is in the territory of the Mars retrograde, and there's things that you could be acknowledging that bring about a new direction, level of responsibility, and discipline. So there's an acknowledgement of what you feel, which is the sun in Cancer, and then there's the responsibility for what you do about it, how you handle it, the maturity that's needed and required for all Capricorn energies. This is also associated with seeing the long-term path. So what needs to be wrapped up? What is no longer working for you? Like there's loose ends, there's things that you just don't want to do or be a part of anymore. Capricorn is decisive. It's your inner CEO. It's the part of you that is the master of your full life. And I feel that this is a big theme this week because not only is this Capricorn full moon serious, but then we also are going to have Saturn stationing retrograde a few days later, and I'll get to that in just a moment. But know that whatever is coming up for you here around July 10th, there are things you have to pay attention to and take care of, and to be discerning, to be wise. See the long-term path. And because it's the moon in Capricorn, there's a sense of what needs to be shifted into a new direction in order to be in alignment with this long-term path or responsibility, discipline, soul purpose, whatever it is for you. It's going to be quite evident and clear. I feel that there's also a stillness this week. Almost a quiet, a peaceful quiet, at least in the higher realms, as we're meant to see with clearer eyes what really matters in your life for the long term. There's a seriousness here, and it could be coming through very strongly for you at this time. And depending on how you work with Capricorn and Cancer energies, it could be very evident what you need to take care of. This could also be felt in your home environment with your family, kids, parents. Cancer is our loved ones who we live with and connect with. If there's changes that need to be made there, if something isn't working, if it's not efficient, if it's not operating well, if you got to get out a new chore list or do some course corrections around plans or projects, there's an energy here of we got to call it. We got to make a decision. We got to do something new, see it for what it is, and then invest in that new direction. Now, right after this full moon is exact, of course, the moon moves on, and the moon is going to pass over Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, as it does every month, but it's going to bring about some intense messages and feelings. And I think this is going to be quite interesting and active because as the moon moves forward, it trines Uranus now in Gemini. It's going to be conjunct this Pluto in Aquarius. And it means that we're going to be feeling and pulsing with these new energies of change, feeling and sensing what we are changing at a deep level of our being. And as I mentioned last Wednesday, we are sensing these communications through our personal electromagnetic field that is changing in its vibration. And I keep seeing this as new ways of interacting and communicating in the world and in our everyday environments. It's sort of like we feel different even though we go into the same places or we're around the same people. There could be a sense of what you are now excited about, what you want to create or develop. New energy could be more readily activated within you. I feel that it is also these new cellular communications that are coming online, maybe even directing you to try something new or do something different or go for that bizarre idea. And why not? You only live once. It's that kind of buzzy energy. And I feel that that's going to be deeply impacting us now, especially through the lunar cycle. And the more that we're conscious of it, of course, the better it is to understand and work with it. But it could be wildly unconscious and it could be bubbling up in ways that you don't expect and shifting what you want to do and how you want to live your life. Yes, it is that big. And it does depend on how these energies are working with you in your own natal chart, of course. Because again, after this Capricorn full moon, the moon enters into Aquarius. And it's the air signs that are being deeply worked with right now. Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra. If you have planets or points between 0 and 2 degrees, especially of these 3 air signs, there is new life pulsing through you. A new chapter, a new big chapter is about to start and begin. And a part of your energy is directing you towards that. And it's coming maybe in through your conscious awareness. As I say this, I'm seeing the toroidal field moving much faster. And the toroidal field is part of the heart's electromagnetic field. And it has this beautiful circular loop motion to it. And that's part of how I'm seeing this flow of energy that's coming through now that Uranus is in Gemini and is beginning to form an exact trine to Pluto in Aquarius. We are feeling more alive with these new electrical currents that we're learning to adapt to, and they do spark change, evolution, transformation, new creations, new realities. And I just see it moving in that circular loop coming from the heart and back out through the aura. And it feels like it's working to stir up what has been stagnant or slower within us. And it's creating this new pulse of life. And so I feel that throughout the month, as the moon moves through all 12 astrology signs, every time it gets to one of the air signs, Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, it further activates more of the ideas, concepts, and options that are available to you in this life. And it's like it's bringing them online, bringing them into your conscious awareness. Even if they were further out, I feel this energy is pulling it in, bringing it up to your awareness and giving you more to think about and consider. So this is definitely part of the buzzy energy that's going on now since Uranus has moved into Gemini. But again, I feel that it's coming up quite strong right after this Capricorn full moon, which is exact on July 10th at 4:37 p.m. Eastern Time. And so perhaps it's something around this energy field that's speaking to you and directing you to make choices and understand the present reality of your life so that you can direct it in a way forward that aligns with these new pulsing frequencies that are waking us up at deeper levels of our being. One thing about the Capricorn full moon is because it's opposite, again, the sun in Cancer, it does have this timeline that moves from the past, present, and into the future. And so you could be getting glimpses or visions of the past or future that are affecting you, that are showing you where to go or where you've been. Almost like there's these messages coming through to help you be in your power and your mastery around what you truly want in this lifetime. Yes, it is that big. And that's because a few days after the Capricorn full moon, we have Saturn stationing retrograde at 1 degree 56 minutes of Aries on July 13th. So nearly 2 degrees of Aries. Saturn has been in Aries since May 24th and is conjunct Neptune. If you are a regular listener to this podcast, or if you follow me on YouTube, you know I'm talking about this a lot because it's a really big deal. It's setting us up for something that we are preparing for, and you could feel it. You could even feel that it's setting you up for something and you don't know what. You're not sure what's coming down the pike or what is going to develop next. But there is a preparatory energy here. And as Saturn stations retrograde on July 13th, there might be some type of reality check, message, important information, something that comes through that connects you solidly to your 3D reality, your physical reality, and also reminds you that you are the master of this journey. So what are you intending in your life now? And are you on track for that? Are you in alignment for that? Every time a planet stations retrograde, it's similar to changing gears in your vehicle, where you were driving forward, then you have to apply the brakes and hit it into reverse. Typically, you have to come to a full stop. Not saying everybody does, but you have to do that change in the gears. And that's how this energy works with the station retrograde. Saturn can also feel like you come into contact with time, what you've done in your life, what you've created. Do you feel you're on purpose, on track? Do you feel that what you're doing is important, that it pertains to your purpose or your mission? If not, Saturn will redirect you. Saturn will also give you answers around what is better, but those answers might not be obvious right away. So if, for example, you sense that you're ready for a change in your life, a new career, a new lifestyle, a new dream, you might have some reality checks over this next week around what you need to plan or prepare in order to make that happen. Because Saturn is very much about our physical real world, there are no shortcuts, there are no quick methods. It's the things we have to get in place in order for that reality to exist. Now, one thing that I've been hearing from a number of people is about how their career path is changing. And so Saturn in Aries is saying it's time to get a new skill set. It's time to learn something different, to have beginner's mind, to approach it with a level of humbleness and eagerness to learn something new, to not allow my ego to get in the way or prevent me from starting over. So that could be one thing that's coming up, is that as the world turns, as our professional realities move in new directions, there's more that we have to learn and understand in order to adapt and adjust. And then the conjunction with Neptune retrograde in Aries as well can bring up a flood of feelings around that, where you might feel really inspired, motivated, idealistic. I can do the thing. I'm ready for the new start. And then those feelings can flow out and you might feel overwhelmed, a bit down, a bit confused or depressed because it all feels so big. It's a moving target. Is this real? Can this work? Am I ready? Neptune will bring up those bigger questions. And yet what is beautiful here is that both of these energies in Aries are in a sextile to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius and Uranus in Gemini now. So there is more of an excitement to work with these dynamic changes and be open to the creative possibilities that are coming through that will change your life. But that's exactly what is right on time here as well. So I know I started this part of the show talking about Saturn stationing retrograde, but understand there's bigger levels of support here for the new start. That is so rare and wildly exciting that if you can tap into that, it's going to give you more confidence and courage for what needs to be phased out or closed out, as well as seeing how supported you are at these bigger levels of energy. It's like a very magical, universal level of growth and support. And I feel like it's coming through for so many of you who have been doing the work, healing, showing up, drudging through things, staying the course, keeping the faith, finding the hope. And this is where more things are connecting and showing up. So there's turning point energies that are coming through here, especially over the next few months. And so getting back to Saturn stationing retrograde, there can be a sense of I'm doing what I can today. I'm focusing on this. I'll take care of this. I can only take it one day at a time, but I understand the universe is opening up a whole new chapter and it will present itself when it's time. All I can do right now is be in my current reality, trust myself, trust what I'm feeling, not go too far off either side of the seesaw, or at least when you do, come back to center, and then know that Saturn is the timekeeper who gives you time to do what you need to do. So this is a week of looking at your relationship with time, how you honor time, work with time, appreciate time, while also sensing this other timeline overlapping and coming through. I'm seeing it as a Venn diagram that's being created with these timelines that are merging. And in an interesting way, it feels very gentle and peaceful, that there's an effortlessness to it, which is a little bizarre to say considering how dynamic the energies are. But just to offer that in case it resonates, and allows you to deeply exhale and trust how the universe is showing up and bringing through what is right on time for you, and also what has your name on it, which is the Aries energy as well. So it's quite an interesting week with these strong Saturn Capricorn influences. Then the softer emotional energies of Cancer also being accentuated. I also need to note that Mercury retrograde begins July 17th. At 15 degrees of Leo, 34 minutes, Mercury retrograde is going to travel back to 4 degrees of Leo. So this is the territory in your chart that the retrograde will happen. 4 degrees to 15 degrees of Leo. That is the house or houses you want to look at, as matters will be reworked, discussed, changed, canceled, removed, and reprioritized. Mercury retrograde will last until August 11th. And I always see this as a beneficial time of catching up on projects, tasks, and anything that has been pushed aside or forgotten. In fact, if you're able to plan your year with these Mercury retrograde phases, it can help you understand how to work with the energies best for you. I'll be talking more about the upcoming Mercury retrograde on the Monday, July 14th podcast episode. So we'll do a little bit more of a deeper dive into the themes and energetics of this particular Mercury retrograde, which I will say appears to be a bit calmer because there are fewer aspects that Mercury retrograde is making in this cycle. Now, that doesn't mean there won't be transportation issues, delays, communications, maybe something happening with your devices or how you go about your day. All of that tends to be pretty typical with every Mercury retrograde. So as always, we want to be lighter in our expectations, more allowing of changes to occur. Those last minute delays and cancellations can pop up, but it's also a time to intentionally slow down, to be more self-aware, to be clearer in our language and communications, and to be decisive around what gives you life, what excites you, what interests you, what is aligning with your creative force, and conversely, what is not. So those are some of the themes that this particular Mercury retrograde is going to gift us with. We're going to have opportunities to see it and work with it. We're just so lucky. And then the final aspect we have this week that's worth noting is the sun in Cancer will get to 19 degrees and make a trine to that north node in Pisces, also at 19 degrees. I'm referencing the true north node. There is the mean north node as well, which if we throw it in there, it means that the sun in Cancer trines the north node July 11th to July 14th. That's 19 to 21 degrees. So when the sun in Cancer trines that north node in Pisces, we have an emotional response to what we want to develop, how we are trusting and surrendering, how we can feel a release from anything that has weighed heavily on you for whatever reason. So there's a momentum here of new hope, trust in the bigger picture, and a softening or an exhaling into what is at this time. This could be restorative as well, as you might receive something that is good for your emotional body, your well-being, your inner world. This is very feminine energy, and it has a quality of listening to it. So again, July 11th to July 14th, the sun in Cancer will be trining that north node in Pisces. And you may have some really beautiful messages and downloads that come through that allow you to keep trusting with renewed faith. So those are the main transiting aspects of this week: Capricorn full moon, Saturn stationing retrograde, and the sun in Cancer trining the north node. This could be a week that solidifies an important decision or area of life for you. And I hope those Capricorn Saturn influences serve you really well in terms of aligning you with your long-term future path. We're moving into new territory with the nodes of fate being activated. Not only that sun in Cancer trining the north node, but we're going to have a T-square coming up, a mutable T-square, as Mars in Virgo will be moving across the south node, while Venus in Gemini squares the nodes of fate. So this is going to bring up some turning point choices in relationships, connections, what you do every day, where your mind goes, where you have obligations, service needs. This could even be health matters. And this begins July 20th. So I'll be discussing it more next week. But if you need support and understanding in what the nodes of fate in Pisces and Virgo are bringing up for you right now, please check out my program that helps you understand what the North Node in Pisces is asking you to release and make room for, where you're trusting in a very big way, and where you're also tuning in to more of your higher guidance. And this is in opposition to that South Node in Virgo, which is where we have to let go of what's not working, where we are stressed, too heavy, perhaps overworked, without satisfaction or fulfillment. And the universe is moving you away from the karma that has been existing in the Virgo areas of your chart, since that's what the South Node brings our attention to. This is especially important for those of you born in the mid-1960s, because if you were born with Pluto and Uranus in Virgo, you want a heads up on what is changing deeply and permanently in your life. And or you could have Saturn and Chiron in Pisces, which is also being affected by the turnover of energies in the Pisces areas of your chart. This is also good information if you have planets or points in Virgo or Pisces, but you don't have to. It's designed to be something that everyone works with or understands. So just a heads up that if you are wanting more understanding around what is shifting for you with the nodes of fate, please check out this program, because it's designed to give you a heads up on what is meant to go, as well as what is meant to arrive and be welcomed. So I'll put the info below the podcast and you can check it out. And this is yet another way that you become your own astrologer, that you understand the cycles and rhythms in your chart, and that you become the master of them, which is one of the best ways to understand what's going on in your life, especially this year. So wishing you a beautiful Capricorn full moon. May it illuminate exactly what you need to see in your life and in your purpose. And I look forward to continuing our conversation every Monday and Wednesday on the podcast. As always, thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon.